Well, I'm off to do my a quick hive check to check on my double nook to see if they need a second super, and then to put a 6 frame nook into a 10 box or 10 frame box. As you can see, things are blooming. Uh, this is an oasis, this area here, our garden area. So I tend to cultivate fireweed, so it grows everywhere. We've had hot, dry weather for the last probably 2 weeks, so we went from cold to hot. Fireweed's still doing okay. There's a few patches that I have to water because there's not much soil here, so things get stressed out, drought stressed pretty quick. We've got at least another week, I'm guessing another 2 weeks of this hot, dry. Hopefully we get a shower at some point. You can see from the sky there's no clouds. So they're calling for 30 Celsius today, so it'll probably be 31, 32. And then for the Yukon, that's about 10, 15 degrees above normal averages. So the plants can't really take it, but it is what it is. This early phase of these heat waves is usually good for nectar flow. Hence the reason I'll go put a second super on, just in case, just to see how they're doing. But anyways, there's fireweed, there's a bit of hawkweed, and then the garden plants. And it's about 22, 23 degrees right now. It's, I think, 9 a.m. So if you're looking for garden plants that the bees love and humans love, these perennial onions, I'm not sure what you call them there, but typically a bit later in the day, this will just be jam-packed with bumblebees and honeybees. It's nectar producing, so you can see there's a few bees on them. So they go crazy for it. And what you can do to harvest for humans is you just cut stalks, and they go really well on salads and for cooking. They're not too strong, and so yeah. And then you'll notice the yard, we've just let the chives go wild, so there's chive sprouts growing everywhere, so we just propagate that because all the bees really love chives. So anyways, so this is a northern garden. So we've got Caragana. There's a few non-natives, but that's okay. They're not going anywhere because the bush here is too hostile for them. We've got some black currants, some gooseberries, raspberry bushes. We've got some arugula there, so it's wasabi arugula. So if you've never heard of it, it's wonderful. It actually tastes like wasabi, and it goes great in salads if you want to add some spiciness to it. And you can actually make a nice pesto without actually having wasabi, so it's good. We got some haskaps, some saskatoons, and down there I've got a bunch of haskap plants. Because of the hot weather, we just can't keep up with the rhubarb. They just went to flower so quick, and it is what it is. And so yeah, so we're producing way more food than we need now. So yeah, garden greens are good for stir fries, good for doing salads. And this year we've got 3 fallow beds that we're not using because the garden was too big, and in one we put borage, malva, and some type of fava bean, so all popular ones with bees. This one here we just put that wasabi arugula. We let it go to flower so we can collect seeds, and it just reseeds itself, so we'll probably make that bed into a wasabi bed. And yeah, there's another bed down there behind the haskaps there where I just planted a bunch of borage because the bees really love borage, and it'll flower into September in the first frosts. So there's a bit of Phacelia down there. We've got let's see, our garlic. So we can't do fall planting of garlic here because the soil just gets too cold and it would freeze. So there's a way we prep our garden bulbs or garlic bulbs late winter, put them in the fridge for a while, and then just break them up into cloves and then just plant those individually in the garden bed, and we can produce all the garlic that we want for the year. So we do, I think my wife does close to 100 bulbs or more, so we're good on that front. And initially we tried controlling the fireweed, and so right now what I do is I just control it where the beds are and just let it go crazy where we don't have to control it, and just let things go wild. So, and in the chicken yard I've planted carragana, gooseberries, mayday tree, and mountain ash, just to give them shade, but also give them berries for them to eat, but also forage for the bees in the spring. So, and all the plants that would grow down south outside, like zucchinis, cucumbers, tomatoes, and all that type of stuff, and pumpkins are all grown inside our greenhouse and in our hoop house. So, and with that, let's go check that colony. The first thing I like doing when I arrive at my colonies is just look at the bees coming in. I'm looking for the ratio of empty bees, so meaning can't see pollen balls, and those just flying in with no pollen on them. Especially if the bees coming in with no pollen are sluggish and seem heavy. It's a pretty good indicator that the bees do have a nectar in their crop. So just looking at the bees right now, I'm seeing a mix of some orange, so some hawkweed. There's probably some loco weed, so some of the orange, the less bright orange, those southern facing slopes has it's the pea family, so it's got an orange pollen, brownish orange. That's what my bees in my other bee yard are foraging. There might be a bit of clover in the area, probably some alsic, because there's some browns coming in. Some yellows, and the yellows is from the goldenrod. And I'd say so far it's probably a third pollen to no pollen, or half and half. So them bringing in pollen is a good sign. The bees are getting nutrition, so I don't have to worry too much about feeding pollen patties. And it's a nice variety, so there's like 4 or 5 different colors coming in. So it tells me that they're getting mixed nutrition, which is critical. Right now like I mentioned, we're in a hot phase. So we're hitting high 20s, low 30s, but our evening temps are still from 0 to 5 Celsius, so it is quite a bit of temperature swing. Yeah, literally you do this and then you'll start getting a feel for what's going on inside just by looking at what the bees are doing on the outside. And also it's relaxing. So just listening to the bees, the activity level, they don't really care about you. So one of my objectives is to check the honey super on here. So I just noticed the farmer is haying his fields. So hopefully the bees got what they needed from the field. And now those southern facing slopes is where the food's at, which is non-agriculture. And this is just an organic field. There's no chemicals or anything, inputs or herbicides. So it's just a mixed hay field that's left to own devices. It's a hobby farmer, so I don't have to worry about any pesticides, herbicides, and that type of stuff. And there's the main grass, and then you can see there's dandelions, there's weeds, there's hawkweed. There's no hawkweed, but there's the odd raspberry, nangoonberry. There's gentian. There's beard tongue, also pestamon. So there's strawberry. So it's a nice mix, and I guess the farmers like it for their feed in the winter because it's a nice varied feed. So there are bees in the upper honey super. Not much for nectar building. I'm just gonna crack a couple frames and just have a look to see if they've started storing anything up here. So it may be one of those seasons. Let's have a quick look. It's been, like I said, really dry, so if there is, I'm lucky. If there isn't, I guess it is what it is. So let's go have a quick look. I do smell some nectar, but it's probably in the bottom box, so a little bit of nectar in this one. Very little. Let's have a quick look. It's pretty dry. One cell, a couple cells with some nectar. So at least they're starting to come up. There's enough season left, so like I said, if we get one good rainfall, one cap cell, this colony would basically explode with nectar. But let's see, bees are still hatching out in the bottom, and it's probably still a forager game. And this was a nuc from about I installed it a month ago, not even a month ago, so 2-3 weeks ago. So it's asking a lot of these bees. No point putting a super on. Look down here, a lot more bees. Just need them to come through the excluder and come up. So this gap here, there's about 1.5 inches between here and the bottom there, so that might account also for the lack of them coming up. So that distance might be a bit too much for comfort. That's the only thing I don't like about these turnbuckles. They do get in the way. Okay, let's have a quick look underneath. So, let's see, it's super bright, but you'll probably notice some queen cells. So I'm just gonna see, there's one there. I'll see if they're loaded or not, because I wouldn't want my nucs to swarm off. So I may have to do a full check if they're loaded. So just gonna do a quick check to check for cells and different things in this box here. Okay, I've popped the box. Just check in the bottom of the next box. All is good. Lots of bees. You can see the floor here is nice and dry. There's a bit of droppings, but the bees are able to maintain that. So I'm just gonna close them up now. So, nice honey frame, it's filling up. So they got the resources. This box was pretty heavy. So gut feel is they're ready to start moving up into the super. So if I don't see any bee movement up into there, what I'll do is I'll actually drop these two boxes into a single and put my honey super straight on top. And see, they're still consuming the pollen valley, so that's good. Okay, so we got lots of eggs, and there's the queen, mid-frame, nice black queen right there, and the next frame over is full of brood. So this is, and let's see what's this side. And we've got eggs, some eggs. Looks like we do have some eggs on the back side here. So, plenty of brood. Let's see where the queen is. Oh, the edge. Switcher. Just having a quick look at the field before he mows it. Hopefully he doesn't mow it too low. I guess there's pussy toe, there's beer tongue, there's wild strawberry, there's a bunch of vetches, alpine vetches, milk vetches in the bottom there. I do see my bees foraging on the pussy willow, not the pussy willow, but the pussy toes, quite a few. It seems to be the predominant flower right now, especially in the upper story. So, and I guess that's the challenge with keeping bees near farms, is you're at the mercy of the farmer's cycle. So these were early starts. Usually if the colonies here overwintered and basically ramps up from May, they take advantage of every flower cycle here, and basically they do about 75 pounds a colony for honey, but because I only started 3 weeks ago, it's been good for the brood boxes, but not much for the honey boxes. So what I will probably do is come back tomorrow and pretty much take those 3 colonies in the bee yard, make 2 really strong ones, boost up the weaker nook there, and then just put a straight honey super on the brood nest, let the queen go up a bit, and then when I come back from my Valdez fishing trip, I'll chase the queen down and just put an excluder, and then see what happens from that point on. Like I said, the key right now is rain. And unfortunately, this multi-acred field is probably going to get mowed later this afternoon. So I can see the farmer there. He's mowed the one back behind the willows there, and I think he's heading this way now.